Exercise kind of works that same way. So if you take a total couch potato and have them start doing something, they will see a benefit if you have them do more. Now, where is the optimum amount? Current public health recommendations suggest that individuals should be getting in at least 150 minutes a week of at least moderate intensity exercise.
Does it matter if it's sporadic or if it's one straight day?
It can be. The one straight day is kind of an extreme because the 150 minutes a week, that's like 2.5 hours in one day.
Yeah.
Very few people do that. Although there are actually several.
Like if you do like a hike every Sunday and it just takes you 3 hours.
Good point. There have been a few studies that have been published on this that have looked at individuals who spread it out over the week or do it all on perhaps like that weekend. They call them the weekend warriors.
Yeah.
And this is, the term came from individuals basically who don't have time during the week, but they get together with their friends and they play loads of basketball, soccer, whatever, for hours on the weekend. So they call them the weekend warriors, these competitive types of sports. But research suggests that individuals who do these kinds of activities, like your hikes and so forth, that may fall on just 1 or 2 days of the weekend, they seem to be just as well off as individuals who kind of spread it out over the course of the week. So the goal then should be try to get in at least 150 minutes a week. That can be not only spread out throughout the week, but even throughout the day.
Okay.
So if someone doesn't have time for a 30, 40-minute cardio workout, they might have times for shorter bouts of activity.
Like a 10-minute brisk walk
or
around
something
the block.
like that. And when I mentioned moderate intensity activity is, the brisk walk is probably the best example of this. It's something where you're walking purposefully and but not really huffing and puffing.
Yeah, you're not killing yourself. It's
but not just meandering along, watching the flowers or mall walking or something like that. So if you ask most people if they hopped on a treadmill, we've done this in our lab, you basically say, get on a treadmill, turn the speed on, set it to a speed that you feel comfortable walking.
Is there a heart rate number, like 70% max heart rate, 65% max heart rate?
Well, the moderate intensity domain typically ranges somewhere between 50 and 60% of max heart rate, up to about 70 or so, 75% of max heart rate. That would be the moderate intensity domain. Most people can get into that quite easily.
Yeah, 70% is pretty easy.
Yeah,
you can maintain that for a while.
For a long time,
yeah.
Yes.
So now the easiest way to measure it, I mean, there's probably more scientific reason, but is it 220 minus your age and then multiply that by the percentage?
Yes, there is an estimate. If you don't know your max heart rate,
you
can take the 220 minus the age. That'll give you a good ballpark figure. But that's only a ballpark because there's a tremendous amount of individual variability in max heart rate. Good example, when I was 30 years ago, I was doing some research on older individuals. The average age was 70, and they ranged from, let's say, about low 60s up to about 80 years old. So if the average age is 70, you do the 220 minus your age, their max heart rate should have been like right around 150.
Yeah.
So we did max tests on a treadmill, and we had max heart rates that ranged from about 129 to 185. So the average was about 150, but we had some that were like 20 some odd beats below that and some that were 25, 30 beats above that. And so if you have someone who uses the 220 minus the age and they really have a much lower heart rate than that, they might be kind of overstressed because they might think, well, I should be exercising at this heart rate, and I really feel that that's a struggle.
How do you find it out if you don't want to use that formula? Is there another way or an easier way to find out what your max heart rate could or should be?
Well, the easiest way for people who are healthy and don't really think they have anything to worry about in terms of their health, in other words, no chest pains, they're not at high risk, they can do somewhat of what I would call a self-conducted stress test.
Okay.
In other words, if you had a treadmill or a cycle ergometer, or even if you didn't, you could walk around or jog around a track or something like that. It's easier to do on a treadmill because you can control the speed and grade, and then the bike the same way. You can actually just kind of ramp it up. Get on a treadmill, set it at 0 grade and 2-3 miles per hour, and then every minute or so up the speed a little or up the grade until the point where you feel like, wow, this is it. I'm pretty much at my limit or near my limit. Might be able to go a little bit longer, but no need to. Stop it, hop off the treadmill, palpate, and you can get a pretty good idea. That would be a rough estimate. But I wouldn't recommend doing that unless a person thought they were fairly healthy. In other words, if someone hasn't exercised in a long time, and they might have some risk factors, they probably should see a physician. Annual checkup would be a great time to do this and say, hey, I've been sedentary for a long time. I want to take up an exercise program. Am I okay to do this?